There's a specific kind of person watching this video. They're not irresponsible, they're not reckless with money, they've actually done the hard part, the part most people never do. They made a budget, they cut back, they started saving, and for a while that felt like enough. Every month, the number in their account went up a little, not dramatically, but it moved, and that movement felt like proof. Proof they were doing something right, that they were finally building something. Maybe that's you. Maybe you've been saving for 6 months, a year, maybe longer, and somewhere along the way, you started checking your account a little less because the number was growing, and that meant everything was fine. But then something shifts. It might happen on a slow afternoon, or late at night when you can't sleep. You open your banking app and just look at it, the balance, the interest earned. That small, almost invisible number representing an entire year of discipline, $40, maybe 60, 100 if you're with a decent bank. And you sit with that for a second, because you sacrificed for this. You said no to things. You transferred money every month like clockwork. You did the responsible thing, and this is what it gave you in return. A number that barely moved, that quiet, uncomfortable realization. That's what this video is about, the real problem with saving. Here's the thing nobody told you when you started saving. Saving money and building wealth are not the same thing. They feel the same, they look the same. They both involve discipline and sacrifice, but they are not doing the same job. And the longer you confuse one for the other, the more time you lose. Not dramatically, not obviously, just quietly. Month by month, year by year, while your money sits still and the world keeps moving. Here's the question worth sitting with. If you keep doing exactly what you're doing right now, same account, same interest rate, same amount, where will you be in 10 years? For most people, the honest answer is roughly the same place. More zeros in the account maybe. But the same financial anxiety, the same dependence on income, the same distance from actual freedom. That's not discipline failing you. That's a system doing exactly what it was designed to do. Savings accounts were never designed to make you wealthy. They were designed to hold your money safely until you need it. And they do that job perfectly. But protection and growth are not the same job. Why most people never invest. So why don't more people make the move? It's not ignorance. Most people know investing exists. Most have heard the words index fund or compound interest. The barrier isn't information. It's emotion. Think about what a savings account does for your nervous system. The number doesn't drop. It doesn't send you an alert on a Tuesday afternoon saying 4% just disappeared because someone gave a press conference somewhere. It just sits there, calm, still, exactly where you left it. That stillness is a feeling, and it's addictive. Now think about what investing feels like to a beginner. You put your money somewhere you don't fully control. It goes up, then down, then sideways. The news starts covering it. Someone in your family mentions they lost money in the market once, and suddenly your chest feels tight. That discomfort is real. The brain is wired to feel losses more painfully than equivalent gains. Psychologists call it loss aversion. A $500 drop in your portfolio feels worse than a $500 gain ever felt good. So people stay on the sideline. Not because they lack knowledge, because they lack something to do with the discomfort. They tell themselves they're waiting for the right time, that they need to learn more first, that the market is too uncertain right now. But the real reason is simpler. Saving feels like safety. Investing feels like risk. And until you understand that one of them is quietly the bigger risk, you'll stay exactly where you are. The shift that changes everything. Here's the mental model that makes this click. Saving money protects what you have. Investing grows what you have. These are two completely different functions, two different jobs, and your money needs both. Think of it this way. Saving is like storing seeds in a glass jar. They're safe, they're intact, but they're not becoming anything. They're just waiting. Investing is like planting those seeds in soil. It's messier. Day to day, you can't fully predict it, but you're trusting a process that, over long stretches of time, has consistently produced something far larger than what went in. The jar isn't wrong. You need the jar, but the jar was never supposed to be the end of the story. Your savings account is the parking lot, not the destination. Once that distinction lands, really lands, something shifts. You stop asking, should I save or invest, and start asking, what is each dollar's job? Some dollars protect you. Some dollars work for you. Both matter, but only one of them eventually buys your freedom. The two buckets. Once you have this realization, the next move is a mental one, and it matters more than most people expect. Stop thinking of your money as a single pool. Start thinking in two buckets. Bucket 1. Safety money. Your emergency fund. 3 to 6 months of living expenses in cash, rent, food, bills, everything you'd need if your income stopped tomorrow. This money doesn't move. It doesn't chase returns. It just sits there doing its one job, protecting your stability. And here's why this comes first. The most common reason people make terrible investing decisions isn't a bad strategy. It's needing money at the wrong moment. A car breaks down, a medical bill arrives, and they pull out their investments at a loss just to cover it. The emergency fund doesn't just protect your daily life. It protects your investments from your own desperation. Build it first, non-negotiable. Bucket 2. Growth money. This is money you don't need right now. Money whose only job is to compound quietly over the next decade or two. This bucket is allowed to fluctuate. In fact, it's supposed to. Volatility is part of how long-term returns are generated. When you hold this separation clearly in your mind, everything changes. A portfolio drop doesn't feel like a crisis. It feels like your growth bucket doing what growth money does. Because your safety bucket is untouched, you're fine. You can breathe. The mental architecture comes first, the numbers follow. Start small. Build the identity. Then you begin. Smaller than you think necessary. Most people wait until they feel ready, until they know more, have more, understand more. But that threshold never arrives. Because readiness isn't a fixed point. It's a feeling that moves every time you get close to it. Start with whatever you can put in consistently. Not a number that impresses anyone. A number you'll still invest during a bad month. $50. 100. Whatever doesn't destabilize you, because what you're building in those early months isn't a portfolio. It's an identity. You're becoming someone who invests. That identity, once it's how you see yourself, changes everything. How you make decisions, how you respond to setbacks, how seriously you take the next contribution. Consistency doesn't start with the money. It starts with the self-image. Keep it uncomfortably simple. Here's the part the finance world doesn't want you to hear. The most effective long-term investing strategy is almost insultingly simple. The industry will offer you day trading, individual stock picking, options, crypto plays, leveraged instruments, strategies that sound sophisticated and feel exciting. Most of them will underperform a boring index fund over a long enough time frame. An index fund doesn't try to pick winners. It owns a piece of everything, hundreds of companies across every sector, and rises as the broader economy rises. Low cost, no active management needed, no guesswork. The most successful long-term investors aren't the most active, they're the most patient. If investing feels like a game, you're probably not investing, you're gambling, and the house doesn't lose. Why compounding changes lives. Now, here's the part most people understand intellectually but never actually feel. Compounding is the only financial force that rewards you for doing nothing. Put in a consistent amount each month. Leave it alone. Let the returns reinvest. Let years pass. Then one day, look at how much of your final balance you actually contributed versus how much the market built on your behalf. For most long-term investors, the majority of the wealth wasn't from contributions. It was growth on top of growth on top of growth. Money making money that made more money, quietly, without you doing a thing. But compounding has one condition: time. The earlier you start, the more of that force you get to use. Every year you wait is a year of compounding that simply doesn't happen. Not a dramatic loss, just a quiet one. And quiet losses are the ones that are hardest to grieve later. What to do when the market falls? The market will fall, not might, will. Corrections, downturns, crashes, they are as much a part of the market as growth is. They have always happened. And every time the people who sold out of fear locked in their losses permanently, while the people who stayed in recovered, and often came out well ahead. Long-term investors stay calm during volatility not because they're fearless, but because they're thinking in decades, not days. When prices drop, every dollar you invest buys more. More shares, more ownership, more future return when the recovery comes. For a disciplined investor, a market downturn isn't a disaster. It's a discount. That reframe doesn't come naturally. You have to build it deliberately. But once it's there, the news cycle loses its power over you. And that calm, that freedom from financial anxiety, is itself a form of wealth, the real goal. There's a version of you, some years from now, who will look back at this moment, not at some dramatic decision, not at a single trade that changed everything, but at the quiet, unremarkable day when you stopped waiting and started, when you set up the account, made the first transfer, gave your money something to do besides sit still. Saving gives you stability, a floor beneath you. That matters. Never give it up. But investing gives you something saving never can. It gives you options, time, the slow accumulation of freedom that comes when your money is working, genuinely working, instead of waiting. The goal was never the number in the account. The goal was always the life on the other side of it. A life where financial pressure isn't the constant background noise, where your future isn't entirely dependent on next month's paycheck, where your past decisions are quietly building something real, even on the days you're not thinking about it. That life is built in small moves, boring moves, consistent, undramatic, barely noticeable moves, month after month, year after year, until one day you open your account, not out of anxiety, but out of curiosity, and the number you see is one you built, not through luck, not through some dramatic bet, through the slow, patient, deeply unsexy act of planting seeds and trusting the ground to do the rest.